Shi, a scholar whose teachings faced harsh criticism and banishment in 1195, saw a reversal of fate decades after his death. His ideas, once labeled a school of lies, morphed into the official doctrine. The educational pillars of China, built on Jushi's selection, including the Analects, Mencius, and other ancient texts, became the very backbone of the civil service examinations. It's fascinating how today's values can become tomorrow's legacy, isn't it? Now, let's pivot to the political turmoil of the time. Imagine this: the Song dynasty, preoccupied with internal strife, completely overlooked the threat brewing just to the north. By 1122, in a bid to curtail the Liao dynasty's power, the Song forged an alliance with the Jin kingdom, a partnership that initially aimed at dividing conquests. However, this plan quickly soured. The Jin demanded a hefty price in silver and silk for a slice of conquered territory, straining the alliance to its breaking point. In a striking turn of events, by 1127, the Jin advanced on Kaifeng, the Song capital. Despite the Song military's innovative use of gunpowder and thunderclap bombs, a technology inherited from the Tang dynasty, their efforts crumbled. The capture of the emperor and his court marked a humiliating defeat, leading to the brutal maltreatment of the Song court, with acts of violence that resonate as grim reminders of the consequences of war. What's surprising is how, amidst this chaos, the Song dynasty's heir found refuge in the south, establishing what came to be known as the Southern Song, though much reduced from its former glory. This shift essentially bisected the dynasty into the Northern Song and the Southern Song. Meanwhile, a figure of unyielding valor rose from the ranks. Yue, a name synonymous with loyalty and military intellect, first made his mark as a teenager marching against the Liao. Not only famed for his battlefield strategies inspired by Sun Tzu's The Art of War, but Yue Fei is also celebrated in martial arts lore as the originator of Eagle Claw Kung Fu, a style cinematically opposed by Jackie Chan in the film Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. Lasso, by 1130, chaos reigned again as a peasant uprising, spearheaded by a faith healer, swept through burning markets and toppling societal hierarchies. This upheaval was soon quelled by Yue Fei, who, with a mix of strategy and diplomacy, restored a semblance of order by 1135, earning himself a noble title. However, his desires lay elsewhere, specifically the reconquest of the Song's northern territories held by the Jin. But, entangled in political schematics, the emperor stymied Yue Fei's ambitions. The drama intensified under the Southern Song, which saw its new political heartland flourish south of the Yangtze River, marking a cultural pivot in China's storied history. Yet, the peace was tenuous. By 1138, negotiations with the Jin had failed, setting the stage for Yue Fei's long-awaited campaign to the north. But as fate would have it, internal rivalry led to accusations of rebellion against him. During his interrogation, Yue Fei revealed a tattoo that read, "Serve the country with undying loyalty," a potent symbol of his patriotism. This imagery became so iconic that centuries later, the Chinese Jews of Kaifeng inscribed these very words to express their allegiance to the state. Interestingly, this story, although impossible to verify, embodies a profound expression of patriotic devotion celebrated in Chinese culture, including in the opera Mother Yue tattoos her son, which Mao zealously applauded during a 1960 performance. Despite his demonstrations of loyalty, Yue Fei's fate was sealed by his rivals. In 1141, in the stark confines of a prison cell, he was executed. His death, shrouded by allegations and intrigue, left a legacy that continues to evoke respect and remembrance across generations. Isn't it striking how the threads of loyalty, betrayal, and political maneuvering weave through the fabric of history, leaving patterns that resonate through ages? As we reflect on the life and times of Yue Fei and the shifting sands of the Song dynasty, it prompts us to consider the enduring echoes of the past in our present. Continuing from the impressive strides the Southern Song made, it's fascinating to see how they turned their attention to the seas, especially after losing the north and access to the Silk Roads. Imagine a time when the only route for trade and communication was abruptly cut off. Yet, the Song didn't just sit back. They innovated and leveraged the power of the ocean. They harnessed the ingenious Han invention of the south facing compass and the Tang innovation of waterproof bulkheads in ships. This not only revolutionized maritime navigation, but also significantly enhanced the safety of their sea voyages. Let that sink in. These advancements allowed the Song dynasty to transform into a formidable maritime power, reaching out to distant shores and establishing a vibrant trade hub in Guangzhou. Here, the streets buzzed with merchants from across Asia, bringing in a blend of cultures, goods, and ideas. Now, let's switch gears and dive into the song's technological and cultural renaissance. This era was marked by unprecedented innovation and creativity. The production of high grade iron catapulted the use of hydropower. Imagine the bustling water mills, the spinning wheels, and even intricately designed clepsydra or water clocks, all pulsing with the energy of flowing water. Agriculture boomed with the introduction of early ripening rice varieties, not to mention the cultivation of an astonishing 32 species of lychees alone. However, it wasn't just about technological advances. The Song dynasty also experienced a cultural flourishing that redefined the social landscape. The urban elite developed a refined taste for the arts. They collected objects of beauty like jade, coins, and paintings. Consider the serene and meticulously curated gardens of Suzhou, close to the capital of Hangzhou. These gardens are celebrated as pinnacle achievements of Chinese garden design and are now honored as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Amidst this cultural boom, literacy rates soared. This was greatly supported by the widespread availability of cheap woodblock printing. From village schools to imperial academies, education thrived, and knowledge spread through an array of treatises on diverse subjects ranging from silkworms to the stars. This was a society that documented extensive manuals on architecture, astronomy, and even the customs of foreign lands with cartography that reached new heights of precision. And speaking of precision, the song didn't just stop with geography. Their contributions to mathematics, medicine, and pharmacology were groundbreaking. They funded research that expanded knowledge in fields like dentistry and obstetrics, and even acupuncture. Perhaps one of the most startling advancements was the creation of the world's first monograph on forensic medicine. Imagine the detail and scientific foresight. It provided guidance on conducting autopsies, identifying different types of knife wounds, estimating time of death, and even distinguishing between suicide and murder. Yes, some physicians were that advanced. They recognized the principles of infection and understood psychological impacts on physical health long before the modern age. Interestingly, this time also saw the rise of antiquarianism, specifically the study of metals and stone. It wasn't just about appreciating these materials aesthetically, but understanding their properties, their history, and their value. This curiosity and reverence for the natural world encapsulated the spirit of the Song dynasty, a spirit of inquiry, innovation, and introspection. So, as we explore the depths of the past, it becomes clear that the Song dynasty was not merely surviving in times of conflict and loss, they were thriving, innovating, and setting the stage for future generations. Their resilience and ingenuity, evident in their maritime pursuits, technological advancements, and cultural achievements, paint a picture of a dynamic and progressive society. It's a compelling reminder of how civilizations can turn challenges into opportunities for growth and transformation. Let's keep this story going. That's it for today's episode on Fun Learn Talks, where stories from business, technology, and history keep your curiosity alive. If you enjoyed the journey, make sure to follow, rate, or share it with a fellow curious mind. And hey, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment or connect with us online. I'm Anu, and I'll catch you next time, right here on Fun Learn Talks. Until then, keep learning, keep wondering.